Hi, I'm Ryan C., and I need you to vote for me for the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressional District 18. As your representative, I will fight for you. By voting for me, you're voting for improvement. Improvement in healthcare, improvement in education, and improvement in the environment. Firstly, I want to talk about healthcare. I want to end all of this stuff about pre-existing conditions. I want people to feel comfortable going to the doctor and not worry about the strenuous costs that it's going to take. I want to make Florida a really big, universal healthcare hub so we can eventually set a precedent for the entire world. The next thing that I want to talk about is education. Education is extremely important in this growing society, and teachers are one of the best occupations that you can go into. Teacher salaries are tremendously low, and we really need to work on raising them higher, hoping that me and the rest of Congress will work to do that. Education is so much about standardized testing that it drives kids crazy. We need to get a little farther away from that and look a little more into classroom education, and then you go hands-on education. And I think that would really make a tremendous impact in our growing society today. The environment. That's really what's on our minds today. The environment provides us so many excellent things about this world, and I would hate for things to be destroyed, like the environment. One of the things is red tide. It is completely unacceptable in Florida. We need to do something now. These politicians talk this and talk that. I'm done talking. I'm gonna do something now. We need to provide a bright future for our children's children and make sure they can grow up in a world that they don't have to worry about the next hurricane coming to wipe out their homes or the next earthquake gonna split up their families. We need to do something now for us and for the future to come. Voting is something that is 100% essential. It is something that gives the American people power. And what I've really noticed in this past election was that voting is hard, actually, especially for the disadvantaged. It's hard to get to the polls. Some of the polls close earlier than they're supposed to be. And I just want to make sure I really want to make voting a national holiday. Something that no one has to worry about work that day, getting off of work, getting to the polls. I want to make voting something that's really a right and not so much a privilege. The red tide is a growing issue. Do you feel like our current representatives are doing anything to combat against it?
Well, we're going to the lame duck period, as you know, the next couple months with the new elections cycling in. And, I mean, everybody, both sides, have said they're going to do something to do it. I mean, until I see action, I think it's the only way you're going to believe them. So I hope DeSantis does something, so we'll see. It's all going to come down to action.
Okay, well, I mean, even though I am doing this in-class election, I do plan on eventually running for actual office. And I mean, I'm 19 years old. I'm growing up in this world, and I really don't want this world to change into like a place where you have to wear a mask because the pollution's too high or something like that. So, education. K through 12 teachers earn a base salary around $35,000 a year and work about 40 plus hours. Do you think that's a fair wage considering they're responsible for the education of the future generation?
I think teachers should get a little bump. I mean, they are, like you said, they are educating the youth of the future of this country. But you also take into effect that is what they signed up to do. And they also get 3 months off in the summer. They're not working year round. I know they are prepping for the next school year, but I mean, I'm all for giving them a little bit. I mean, 35 seems a little low, but I don't think, the outcry. I think the outcry is a little overreach for what they do, for how the hours they work. Not what they do. What they do is just, I mean, you can't take away what teachers do for kids. I mean, they're shaping the kids. So.
You can't put a price tag on that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you can't put a price tag on that, but the hours they work is like it's suitable. It's suitable. That's what I'm saying.
And then one of my last questions here about healthcare. Do you think healthcare is a right or a privilege?
Well, I'll put it this way. I think everyone should have access, but I don't think people should be charged to pay healthcare for other people. I mean, I'm lucky to help at least all my parents, but I mean, if they hike it up so that way it becomes universal,
Unaffordable for some people.
Universal healthcare for all. It's just you. Yes, more people have access to it, and then it doesn't become. You go to the hospital if you have something broken, you get put on a wait list like you're in the line for the deli. It's like, okay, we'll get to you when we get to you, because there's just such an overload and mass. There's just so many people now, and your rates go through the roof. I think it should be more affordable. You can't just charge everyone more money so that everyone can. I don't think that's right.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And what is your name?
Steven.
Steven. Very nice to meet you, Steven. Thank you. So first I want to talk about the red tide. It is a growing issue. Do you feel like our current representative is doing anything to combat against it?
Not really, like not enough. Because if he is, then he's not really doing enough, because there's people, I work at a salt therapy spa, and there's people that just live in the area and they're coming in because they have respiratory problems from red tide. So I really don't think he is.
Yeah. Because I mean, beside me running for this election in my class, I have thought about running for an actual election, and I think what we should do is lower the water level in Okeechobee and don't release as much fresh water into the lagoon. You working over here on the water, do you notice any any red tide over this way?
Not really, but I'm not really like noticing what's going on. Like I'm not really paying attention to that, but I don't really see people going into the water as much, and I don't see like surfers like there used to be when I fell here. So yeah.
Do you think the red tide is ruining tourism in Florida?
I do think so, because that's pretty scary. A lot of people don't really know what it is. They just stay away from the water. They don't really do their research on it. So I think it is pushing them away.
The next thing I want to jump to is education. K through 12 teachers earn a base salary around $35,000 a year, and they work about 40 plus hours a week. Do you think that's a fair wage, considering they're responsible for the education of the future generation?
No, I don't actually. I'm still in high school, so I rely heavily on teacher and teacher support, and they do a lot for students, and I feel they should be paid a lot more.
Good. And then healthcare. Do you think healthcare is a right or privilege?
I feel like it's a right. Right?
Yeah. Do you think, as you say right, do you think our current representative is doing anything towards making steps to make sure that's a right and not a privilege?
I can't really speak on that because I'm not too sure. I really don't have to deal with that yet, so I hope he is, but I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just ended an election and we're going into a new term. So the future representatives who are representing us, do you want them to make healthcare a right, not a privilege?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And what is your name?
Christina.
Christina? Very nice to meet you, Christina. Just shake my hand.
If you really want to see change in your environment, in healthcare, and in education, vote for me, Ryan C. And together, you can see what we can do.